No, I have no idea who this is going to be.
From within your mind,
It's Rem Lezar!
the life that you inspire from another place, not from outer space.
So, I guess to start this off and give a bit of context, obviously I came to you last week. I messaged you asking about Rem Lezar, which of course is one of now probably one of your more well-known roles, with its sort of
oddly enough,
with its sort of resurgence. So just for a bit of context for the people who will be viewing this later, for those who may not know, who are you? Who is Jack Mulcahy?
Jack Mulcahy is a born and raised New Yorker who got into the film business when he was about 25 years old, but prior to that, started his first musical bands when he was 16 years old. So I've been a singer and an actor, and now I've evolved into being a producer as well as a director and a screenwriter. So
A bit of everything then.
yeah, kind of. A lot of those are just natural progressions. From one gig to another, and where my interests lie. So yeah.
And you say you're a musician. Obviously, Rem Lezar was a musical. So
That's right.
That was your singing voice, your real voice there.
That was my singing voice. Yes.
Brilliant. So now I've just got a couple questions about Rem Lezar, the production of it, what exactly Rem Lezar is. So first, at least my main question was, what does the name mean? What does Rem Lezar mean?
Well, REM, of course, is the rapid eye movement, dream state.
Oh,
and
yeah.
yes, and Scott Zacharin, the creator of Rem Lezar, was trying to find like a really catchy second name for it, and laser was always coming up, and so it's just a bastardization of laser, except it's Lezar instead. And it just stuck. It doesn't really have any great meaning, but it does roll off the tongue pretty well.
Yeah, and I mean the REM sort of comes into play with him being like a sort of dream manifestation, isn't he?
A dream manifestation, exactly. And what Scott was trying to achieve was to give these kids, how should I say, a comforting sort of being to help them through what most children go through. Zachary has a fear of not being able to make friends, and Ashley has a fear of the dark. These are all very common issues for little kids.
I feel the film has a really nice message to it.
Yes,
that I think almost like transcends its sort of low budget kind of home movie sort of aesthetic.
Yes, and for the audiences that we've played the film for of late has been. We go ahead and we preface before the screenings start that you can go ahead and you can laugh wherever you like to laugh, because we also know that it kind of has a little cheesy 1980s effect to it, and that's fine too. However, the overtone and the resonance of the message is that it is about kindness and acceptance and believing in something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, there's this brilliant sort of honesty and earnestness to the film that I think really helps hold it up. I mean, for myself, Rem Lezar is very much before my time, but I feel like if I was a kid in like the 80s and I had that on tape or whatever, I feel like that would resonate with me quite a bit.
Yes, it's funny because those VHS tapes were kind of indestructible, and I had I had nieces and nephews of that age at the time, and they actually broke one of them. So I had to get them another. It's like, how do you break a VHS tape? They had seen it so many times. And, there were only 8,800 copies made, back in the day, and sold out. And then there was never any real follow-up. Excuse me. And but I did keep in touch with Scott over the years, and Mark Muley, who was the composer of the music. And so Mark and Scott were the Lennon and McCartney, if you will, of Rem Lezar. And as it turns out, I was at a wedding and I met Phil Meyerowitz, who is the production manager of Rem Lezar. And he approached me, and I still had all that long hair that was my hair.
Was it blue
and
as
he
well?
approached me and he said, "Yeah,
Was the hair blue as well?
but it was spray painted."
Oh, it was spray paint. Okay.
Yes. They wanted me to dye it, but I was kind of like, no, I'll go with the lacquer based, highly flammable kind of thing. So you just didn't want to smoke around me, that's for sure. And he approached me and he said, "Jack, I understand that you're a rock and roll musician." I said, "Yeah, I've got a band right now." And he says, "Well, I have a friend of mine who's in Long Island, and he's doing this thing, and he's been trying to look for the character, the lead character." He said, "It's a musical." My ears perked up. I got to meet Scott about a week or two later. He had sent me the cassette for the music. I really liked it. Not my genre, really. You know, it was more of a Broadway kind of feel, but there were some catchy tunes in there. And then we met, we hit it off, and then I went to see his composer, Mark. So Mark and I met up, set a date, and I did the entire soundtrack in one session.
You recorded that like in a studio, and then it was put over
in one session. Yes,
over the film.
Yes, exactly. And so we would have, the loudspeakers on stage with the playback, so I could lip sync it, to the best of my ability. And But one of the challenges was because of the kids' singing range. Some I would have to dip way below my range.
Yeah.
And there were some that I would be just hitting the top of my range. Notes that I say that I could visit, but I couldn't live there. How did you get interested, Jack? How did you find out about this?
I was a member of this society at my university. Called it the Terrible Film Society, which I was expecting that to get a chuckle. It's called the Terrible Film Society. We got together every week in one of the lecture halls, and we'd watch sort of like an old kind of low budget cult classic-y sort of film. And one week that was Rem Lezar, and as I said earlier, it did have like a sort of effect on me. I thought it was a very interesting sort of remnant of like the 80s, the 90s.
We were just dragging the 80s back into the 90s, right? So did you ever see the high definition version?
Yes, it was my first viewing was on the Blu-ray.
Oh, excellent. Okay, good.
So we saw it in all crisp quality. And
funny about that, because when the Red Letter Media exposure hit, and I saw that there was 14 million hits on Best of the Worst, that's when I called Scott and I said, "Hey, dude, we have got to digitize. Please tell me that you have the master." And so he went digging into his garage and he found the 1-inch master. The only problem is that the video and the audio were on the same master, so he didn't have a separate reel for each. And so I was really concerned that with the conversion, that the music and vocals would be damaged, or at least, just not up to the quality that we were used to. And to my delight and surprise, it came out even better.
So since you bring up Red Letter Media, how did it feel when you sort of found out that like this film you did 20, 30 years ago suddenly made this like resurgence online?
Well, it had started to, the phenomenon, if you will, of Rem Lezar started to bubble up several years before that. There was this website called eBaum's World. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but they kind of took a different tack, and they were just like kind of like really dragging it all over the place and disparaging it and goofing on it and what have you, but not even in a kind way. But, the funny thing is that with the Red Letter Media guys, the drunker they got, the more they were loving Rem Lezar. And by the end of it, they were like crying how much they really, really loved it.
Yeah.
And I've actually been in touch with them, in the meantime, and them, as well as Vinny Vinesauce, who is a really good friend of mine. He's helped promote some screenings here in New York. So along with them, it has just taken on a life of its own, and now we've got a little bit of a cottage industry with merch and all that kind of stuff. I'm going out to Portland for a sold out show, Portland, Oregon. I'm trying to get another screening in Seattle while I'm out there, and then we're coming back here. But I did one in Philadelphia back in November, and it was almost completely sold out. But the thing that really grabbed my attention was that no one in the audience was older than like 35 years old. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is pretty amazing, right?
Yeah, the film is older than everyone there, pretty much.
Right?
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
It is. Well, it's, you know, it speaks to the power of the internet, right?
Yeah. So I want to take it back to the actual production of the film and the film.
Sure.
Do you have any like interesting stories from set? Like, did anything
yes, well, quite a bit. On day one, we're all huddled outside of Central Park. We're going to do the doo-wop scene.
Oh, with the
yeah,
the
with the doo-wop singers and the rapper and the violinist and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So they had put me in my little unitard. I had already done a fitting with Rosemary Ponzo, who is our wardrobe designer, and she was fantastic, a costume designer. And the one thing that they forgot was a dance belt for me. So I thought that, you know, just me and my tidy whities would suffice. And so here I am strutting down, you know, the paths of Central Park, and yep, there it is. And all of a sudden, yes, in full display. And it's like, oh, he's a Christian boy. But anyway, so I can see them huddling around the camera in Camera City, right? And in Video Village, as they say. And somebody came up to me and said, hey, listen, we got to get you a dance belt. And I go, yeah, I was kind of feeling a little out there, if you know what I mean. Luckily, there was a Capezio ballet store on 72nd Street, like just blocks away from where we were. And they ran out to they ran one of the PAs out there to get me one. I get, you know, huddled into the van to get a quick change. And, you know, and changing out of a unitard is not the easiest thing in the world to do. And so we got it. But, you know, there will be a couple of shots in there where, let's just say that I am in full Rem Lezar splendor.
How sort of long was filming? Like, it's only quite a short film, but
yeah, we did, but we were two locations, several locations in the city, of course, you know, the World Trade Center, Central Park, the Boathouse, and then we go to the country, and we're up in not too far away from the city, up in upstate New York. So there were 3 days, I believe, in the city itself, and then there were 5 days up in the country.
Did you keep anything from set? Any part of Rem Lezar's costume?
Oh, you know, now that we're like, you know, in this resurgence, I've gotten that question a couple of times. Well, if you saw what the costume, well, not the costume itself, but the cape, if you saw how chintzy that cape was, I did have that in a dry cleaning bag for the longest time. And then one day I was cleaning out my closet and the thing had completely disintegrated. Like, seriously, like just into like blue and gold dust. It was hilarious. But I did keep those gold Converse for quite a long time. But I have since bought a new pair, and an artist in residence who lives in my building, James Willis, took them and painted them up, and they look fantastic.
Is that something you wear to the screenings that you put on?
I do.
As part, yeah,
I do.
As part of a little reference. Now you're obviously doing those screenings of Rem Lezar. You're talking about it with a lot of people. Do you embrace that role now? Do you think that's sort of career defining now?
No, it's really not, because, you know, I've done I've had a couple of those who knews in my career. One of them was Porky's, right? My first film. And from that we did Porky's 2, and then that was $1.7 million budget and made over $200 million. And then the Brothers McMullen, which we made for $15,000, went to Sundance, won Best Picture, wound up making $40 million. So I've had several of those. I'm a trivia question on Sex and the City because I'm the only sibling that was ever introduced on the show ever as Charlotte's brother. So, there's different generations of people know me for different things.
Yeah.
Right. So career defining, I mean, this is cool because it's a cult classic and not really many people know it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't classify that as career defining. But I do like it.
So
I do like it.
Yeah. For the final couple questions, these were ones that I got from members of the Terrible Film Society who wanted to ask their questions. The first was on Rem Lezar. What was your favorite song?
The Showstopper, Reach With Your Heart. Beautiful ballad.
For me, it was always the sort of main theme, I suppose, Higher.
Higher is wonderful.
Rem Lezar is first birthed.
Yes. And when he comes to life.
Produced from a mannequin.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. With a mop.
Yeah, the soundtracks.
Beautiful.
The soundtrack's like brilliant in my opinion. Like it's so catchy. It
really is.
Lots of
it really is.
Lots of kind of sing-along choruses, which I guess is what you want in a children's musical sort of film.
Yes, of course. And I think my second favorite song is "Reaching Out to Touch the Sky." Yeah, which is a wonderful song as well. We were thinking about a children's book where you go to a certain page, and when you come to that particular point, you have a QR code. And then you can just play the song on your phone or on whatever device you have. So we're in the midst of doing that as well.
The president of the Terrible Film Society asks, were there any songs that didn't make the final cut of the film?
No.
No, they're all in
every
there.
Single one of them is in there. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think I read somewhere that at about 50 minutes the film. With about 14 songs, it came down to about a song every. I can't remember the exact number. I can't do my maths in my head.
Every 4 minutes.
Is
2
a
minutes.
Song every 2-4 minutes,
3 minutes. Yeah, 3.5 minutes. Yeah.
Song every 3.5 minutes, which certainly keeps you on your toes every time you're viewing.
It's kind of like an Elvis Presley movie, right? That's very funny. Yeah, we didn't cut anything. And have you seen the director's cut where they have the 20 minutes of the making of Creating Rem Lezar?
No, I haven't seen that.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, I can send that to you because it really gives the backdrop as to how this whole thing came about.
Yeah.
And some great interviews with everybody and some, great behind the scenes, scenes of me talking up some shit and just kind of like in the loadout, just like getting, I'm so over this, what have you, or how important this film is going to be. And it's just a complete send up of what is happening. But it's worth checking out.
Yeah. For the final question I got was there anything that inspired your portrayal of Rem Lezar? Were there any influences there, or was it just what Scott was telling you to do?
No, we definitely had a discussion, as actors and directors do, about how he saw this thing. But as soon as I read the script, I kind of had a gist of who he was. He's very kind, he's very sincere, but he's still very strong because he stands up to Volrock. And I grew up in the era of Superman on television. When I was a kid. So I think Superman was like one of the big influences on me in terms of the portrayal of Rem Lezar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's all of the questions I had in.
Okay.
Is there anything else you?
No, I just want you to send my warmest regards to your Terrible Film Society.
Thank you.
And just tell them that, believe in yourself and you can do anything.
As Rem Lezar would say. So thank you.
Reach with your hearts, kids.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you.
AKA Rem Lezar.
That's correct. Thank you, Jack.
It's been wonderful speaking to you.
Pleasure.
And learning more about Rem Lezar, and hopefully being able to tell others more about Rem Lezar.
From within your mind, no one else can find the life that you inspire. From another place, not from outer space, from some place even higher. Rem Lezar.